So again, welcome everyone. And now that we have some of those housekeeping things out of the way and how to use Collaborate, we're going to move on with the rest of our agenda. So you are joining us today for new faculty development workshop, and this morning it is Workshop 1. Some of you may be joining us again this afternoon for Workshop 2. Here are some of the things that we're going to look at this morning in particular. We've kind of gone through most of the housekeeping. We're going to be doing an icebreaker, kind of finding out who's here and where you're from, what kinds of background you bring to online learning and to this workshop. We're going to go through and make sure that you know all the Blackboard resources and support materials that are available to you. There is a plethora of materials out there for you, and I just want to make sure that you have all of that available. We're going to look at some practice courses that we have for Open SUNY available to you today to learn how to navigate, to get a tour. So I'm going to be sharing those demo courses with you. Then we're going to tour the interface, learn all about how to get around in the system if you haven't been in Blackboard before. This will be really useful to you. And if you have been in Blackboard before, it might give you some ideas for how you can customize your own shell, your own page. So we'll look at some customization. We're also going to be looking at the navigation menu, how you get around and how your students get around in your course. We're going to play with that a little bit, and in the demo courses you can actually configure these things and move things around, okay? Then we're going to look at the course management panel. That is a part of Blackboard where you do all of your work as the instructor. It's where you manage your tools, it's where you manage your students, groups, all of that kind of thing, okay? And then finally, we'll look at some course tools that may be available to you. Now, we're using demo courses today, so they will look different than your own institution's courses. If your institution gave you a practice course, you are welcome to go into that course instead of the demo if you prefer, because then you can kind of use your own tools that have been enabled on your campus. Some of the tools in the demo courses, we kind of have everything open on our SUNY shells, but they may not be available on your campus. So if you see something that you don't have, that's why. It's just something that we've enabled for training purposes, okay? And then at the end, before we dismiss, we'll preview Workshop 2 a little bit and talk about this afternoon and what we will be doing with content, okay? So are there any questions at this point? Okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I have met several of you on the call. I recognize some names. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Erin Maney, and I'm a Senior Instructional Designer at Open SUNY. But in addition to that, I'm not just my job title, right? None of us are. I'm also a blogger and a tweeter. I'm a mom of 3 children and 7 pets. We sort of have our own little petting zoo. I'm an avid reader and walker, and in the past I have worked at Monroe Community College, the University of South Florida, Wisconsin Tech College System, and I was also a middle and high school English teacher at one point. So the resources that I was just mentioning about Blackboard are not just for you, but also for your students. But I want to make sure that you're aware of all that is out there for you. One of the things to note is that this session is recorded. So if you don't get a chance to jot everything down, that's okay. You can come back to this later. So I will put up a few of these in the chat for you so that you can, because you can't click on the slide directly, so I'll put them up. But the first one is our Open SUNY Help Desk. Our Open SUNY has a help desk that is available to you and to your students. And there is also a toll-free number, but they can go to the website and just be able to submit a ticket. Okay, so that is one way that you can get support. You can also submit a ticket as well, or call any of our help desk staff and they will help you. There is an Open SUNY student orientation in your in your instance of Blackboard, and there's also one on the practice one that we'll be going into today. This gives a little bit about navigation. It talks about the how-tos and the technical requirements, which browsers are the best to use, that sort of thing. And it mentions online success strategies. Blackboard themselves, they have a lot of great resources. The first one is help.blackboard.com, and these are good to just bookmark at some point. Help.blackboard.com has a searchable index where you can type in what it is that you're looking to learn how to do or learn more about, and it will give you text-based directions with step-by-step, and screenshots. So if you learn best that way, where you read the directions and you can see the images, that is one way to do it. The other way is if you prefer a video tutorial, you can go to the page that's ondemand.blackboard.com. And on that page, if you scroll down, there is a YouTube repository of Blackboard videos. And these are demonstrations of how to do various tasks inside the system. So those two will be very useful resources, I think, for you as an instructor, but students can also go on there. When you log on, you choose your role, whether you're an instructor or a student, so that you can learn how to do things specifically. And then the last little resource is something called a bundler. It's just a web-based tool that allows you to aggregate several different websites. And this particular bundler has a lot of resources for folks who are transitioning to online learning for the first time. There is a Blackboard tip sheet on there for you from SUNY. There are Blackboard rubrics on there. There are other materials that people have shared, and this continues to be added to. So this is an evolving kind of resource for you. Okay. So there are a couple core components that we're going to look at while we're building a course, right? Whenever we're building a course, and even a module within a course, which a module is about a week's worth of work, possibly two, there are three components that we look at. One is the presentation of content, right? How we present the material to the students. That includes not only what type of tool we're going to use to present it, maybe it's video, maybe it's audio, maybe it's a text page of notes, but it also includes how it is organized and structured. And that is incredibly important. The way that you present your material can either help or hinder your students' progress and how they engage with that. The second area is engagement and interaction. So what opportunities do you create to allow your students to engage with the content, with you, and with other students, right? And how do you support and foster that interaction throughout the duration of your course? And then finally, there's the assessment component, right, to evaluate student learning. And this can take many forms. Don't think just formative assessments. So assessments can be an assignment, can be a discussion forum. They don't have to just be a test, although they certainly can be. And some of the assessment that you might choose to use is really more dependent on your course and what is needed in your course. And so sometimes the course and the content does drive the actual assessment and the structure, okay? Of course, each of these will be covered in more depth in workshops 2, 3, and 4. This afternoon we'll really be talking about presentation because we're going to be creating some content and some structure. Workshop 3, the next time that we meet, if you have signed up for that, that really talks about engagement and interaction. It's the interactive workshop in particular. And then workshop 4 is really based on authentic assessment. So that's sort of the lay of the land. Workshop 5, if you stay to do that one as well, that's teaching and managing your course. So it's really about communication tools, it's about grading, it's about all of those sorts of things. So just to give you a little bit of background, if you are not familiar with this, we have a variety of experience on the line. We have people who have been a part of the SUNY Learning Network and Open SUNY for a long time, and we have some new folks. So if you look across the bottom, we're talking about really a spectrum from web-enhanced courses to fully online. We all know what fully online is, right? So the course meets online, the students never come to campus, ideally is the definition. Web-enhanced is really where you do meet face-to-face and you simply use the Blackboard or the web component to enhance your course in some way. Maybe it's so that you can share material electronically. Maybe it's so that students can submit their assignments to Dropboxes electronically so that there's no paper shuffle. Maybe it's so that you can put up your PowerPoints and your lecture notes and students can access them whether they are present in class or absent. And blended in the middle can be many things. So it's really a reduction in seat time. So students do not meet as they would if it was a fully face-to-face class. But the percentage of that can vary across campuses. So traditionally it's 50-50. So if you were a Tuesday-Thursday class, you may meet on Tuesdays face-to-face on campus, but then Thursday's work would be done anytime during that week online. So blended can really look very different across the board. Blended has also been referred to as hybrid. A hybrid is sort of a combination of the face-to-face component and the web component. And again, how that happens really does vary across our system. So this model takes you through a bunch of different ways of learning, from just using the Blackboard for student interaction, for discussion, to a place to present and share course material, to a place to exchange submissions so that you have a paperless classroom, and all the way down to task-based and project-based learning so that you're creating a collection within your class. So we're going to be jumping into some demo courses, and I am going to switch this Collaborate to an app sharing. So app sharing simply means I'm going to share my desktop with you, and I'm going to do that, but I'm going to make sure that everything is working once we get in there. And then once we do that, I will still have the chat window, but I won't have the screen, so I want to be sure that you can see everything that I'm seeing, okay? But this information is what you will need. So if you would kindly write this down, you are going to be going in your browser to that website, BB Support, and of course I'll put that over here in the chat so that you can just click on it. Okay. And on that website, there are a variety of ways to log in. You need to pick a number between 02 and 25. Now, mind you, because we're on a webinar and I'm not just assigning numbers, someone else could be in the same course you are. So if things start changing and happening, you'll know, okay? You'll know someone else is in that same demo course as you are. So what you would do is pick a number. So if I picked the number 8, my username would be demo08, no spaces. And the password would be SUNY, all capital letters. Okay? So before I share my screen, my desktop with you, I want to make sure everyone can log in. So I'm going to keep these credentials up here. If you would navigate, please, to the website I put in the chat and pick a demo number and try to log in. And I will wait here just momentarily. Let me know if you have any problems. If you can get in, go ahead and give me a green check. If you can't get in, give me a red X, and I will work with you to help you out. It's fine if multiple people are in the same course. You just need to know that sometimes content will be added that you didn't put there because someone else is working in the shell with you. So I'm going to switch now to app sharing. And I'm going to share my desktop with you. Oh, sorry, David. No, that's no problem. All right. So let me know if you can see my desktop. You should see my my Blackboard as well. Great, I see a couple checks. We're going to get used to those checks really quickly. So you should see me logging in. I'm not logging in with a demo account. I'm going to log in with my own. Okay. All right, good. Now once you've logged in, you'll see a couple different things here. And again, let me just remind you, this is SUNY's sort of shell for training purposes. Your campus colors are going to look different. Your campus blocks on the page might look different. Your tabs across the top will probably look different, okay? But for training purposes, you really just kind of need to learn how the tools work, where they reside and what they look like. Color scheme and all of that is really irrelevant. So some of the things that may be on your page, and again, they may not be in the same order as mine, but there should be an Open SUNY Student Orientation box. And so here's where mine is. You can see if you can locate one for yourself. That is where you can click on the title and you can go in and see the content that is given to students to help orient them to Blackboard. And it also provides, of course, the help information that you were given to, the help desk and all of that, okay? Now, we're not going to go into that right now because then I'll never get you back, right? We'll be over there playing in the orientation. So I just want you to be aware of where it is, okay? So there's the orientation. You can browse that at your leisure later on. Another thing that you should have is a courses list, and for today, you're going to be using the course that says training and your number. Okay, so mine says Training 01, Migration Training Course. And yours will say Training and whatever your number is. And you will have access to this, hope at any time. Yeah, these are just demo courses. They get reset after every training. So the work that you do in there will not be saved. Okay, that would be a situation where you would use your practice course if you actually want to build content for a course you're intending to teach. But the demo course is something just for functionality that you can play in, okay? So these are always available. All right, so another nugget on this page is something called My Announcements, and this is global. You are not in a course yet. You have just logged into Blackboard as the system. So this would show you any announcements for any course that you're in, and also institution-wide announcements that your campus might push out. So notifications about different things that are happening on campus, or also system updates. You know, if Blackboard is, if the server went down or if they have to do maintenance, you'll be notified of that here as well. Organizations are actually groups throughout your institution. So campuses may have groups for departments or divisions, or there could be student groups, right? Student organizations on campus that would be listed here. So if you are enrolled or if you are a mentor for any of those organizations, an advisor, they would show up here for you when you log into your courses, your campus's Blackboard. Okay, so I have no organizations right now. Across the top, we have a couple different tabs, and you're going to see a little more here than what you probably have. For example, I have a System Administrator tab, which the demo courses do not. My Open SUNY is simply where you are right now. This is your landing page when you log in. The Courses tab gives you just this courses nugget. So you can certainly click on that and you can see that it just gives you your courses. The Community tab is something that campuses can choose to do, and theirs might be a library tab. They may have Student Services tab. So there are a lot of different things that you can do here and create other tabs for your campus. The content collection is sort of an interesting concept. A content collection holds all of the files that you upload to your course. So if you upload your syllabus to your course, for example, it will also maintain a copy of that syllabus in your content collection. It's kind of like a portfolio, but it doesn't distribute quite the same way. But it is a placeholder. It literally is a container for holding all of the files that are in your course, okay? And that's something that we could talk about later when we talk about managing your course itself. So I'm going to go back here to my Open SUNY tab. Okay. The library issue. Is this the only place schools are putting library stuff? No. I mean, certainly it's happening in different ways across campuses. Some campuses have an embedded librarian who actually pushes into courses and puts content in the course learning modules area that is relevant. But a lot of campuses do have a tab specific for library, or they will have a box on the main page like this. Like we have my announcements, my organizations. Some of them have a library sort of nugget on the main page too. So there are a lot of different ways that that's being done. Can you use an embedded librarian from another SUNY unit if we have none? That's a good question, David. I'm actually not sure that that's being done across campuses, but it's an interesting idea that it should or it could be done. So I'll have to do a little research on that, see if I can find out more, or if someone is doing it that could speak to that better than I could. Okay. One other thing on this page that you may need to know about is there's under the Open SUNY icon, there's something that says Get Help. Now on your page, it will probably actually be a block right here, but for Open SUNY, we have hidden it in the Get Help. If you click on Get Help, it is something that will check your browser for you. So people are always talking about browser compatibility, right? What browsers work best with Blackboard? And the answer is all and none, right? Because browsers are always changing. Right now I'm using Chrome, and it works fine in Chrome, and I'm also using Chrome on a Mac. And so it works just fine with that. It also works fine with Firefox, except for there are a couple glitches right now with the latest version and some test questions. It works fine with Explorer, but sometimes it doesn't render videos very well, depending on the version that you have. And also it works fine with Safari. It works on an iPad. There is also a Blackboard app for Android and iPhone. You can go to the Play Store or the iTunes Store, and you can find the Blackboard app for your phone. It is a little bit limited still. It doesn't do the full functionality that the browser will do. But you can view items, you can open discussion forums, you can view content. It's the management part that's not as streamlined, so you'd still want to do that through a browser. Okay. That's a good question. Your tab on your campus will not say Open SUNY. It will say My Institution, perhaps, or it would say, for example, I think Cayuga says My Cayuga, so that kind of thing. So, but it'll still be the first tab. Okay. Yep. And then, so Chrome is best. Well, David, I'm a huge Google user, so that's a personal opinion, but whatever browser you're comfortable with will work just fine for what you're doing. Okay. Is there a place on Open SUNY that updates the browser issue? Yes. One of the things that you can see, let's see, is it on here? Yeah. We have see where it says check our detailed list of supported browsers. I believe that takes you to our wiki that has the browsers, and it updates what is compatible, what has been certified, in other words, what has been tested, and then what is also unsupported by Blackboard. Okay, so that is on our wiki, and I believe this right here will take you there. If it doesn't, I can find that link for you and send it to you. Okay, but we do have a page that we maintain updates to the different browsers. Okay. All right, so I'm clicking under Open SUNY to my home right here. So I can go back to my home page. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to learn another area that's on here. Remember, we haven't even gone into a course yet. We're just trying to navigate the system and understand what's here for us. One of the other pieces that's hidden is up here by your name. You see your name, yours is going to say demo and your number, because that's who you are right now, okay? And if I click on this, it will open a panel. Now this area is called My Blackboard, and it's really designed to kind of be a social space, but there are many things as an instructor that you can find here. There's an area where you can get alerts and notifications for students that you might choose to monitor. There is an area inside Blackboard when we go over course tools that allows you to monitor students who are doing poorly or who are doing well. You can kind of monitor different things in your course that you set up. This is also where you can find other groups on your campus, okay? And in addition to that, it tells you the places you have recently been. So it kind of keeps track of activity in your course. If you have had if you add content to a course or if you have graded something, you get a notification up here that says that something has happened in that course. Okay. So what we want to take a look at is what I think is one of the most valuable tools in this particular panel, and that is the calendar. So if you scroll down the left-hand side, you will see a little calendar icon. You can go ahead and launch that, or you can just watch me do the calendar, but if you want to play with it as well, you can click on the calendar in your course. So again, I got to that up here in my name, and I scrolled down and clicked this little calendar icon. Okay? If you have trouble finding that, just drop a line in the chat. So this is the calendar in Blackboard, and I'm just going to show you a little bit about how it works and why it's helpful. Does the red circle by SLN mean there's something you should see? Can you tell me where that is, David? I'm not sure where that is. Oh, that's okay. Was that answered then? Usually if there's a red circle next to something, it indicates that it is disabled for some reason. Okay. So not available at the moment. Sometimes courses are not available because of the start and end date. All right. So let's take a look at the calendar and see what we can learn about this. So you have your month laid out here for you, and of course you can choose to change your view. Right now it's month view here, but you can change it to a week view if you prefer, and even a day view. Okay, I'm going to keep it on month so that I can show you how things work. In this particular case, I have an assignment on this course. You may or may not have something on your calendar, and that's okay, but that's what it would look like if something appeared. Now, over on the left-hand side, there are different calendars. You'll notice that you have an institution calendar, you have a personal calendar, and then I have several calendars for every course that I'm in. Now, there's a lot here, but you'll notice that you'll only have what courses you're enrolled in. If I don't want to see some of the items, because if my calendar is really full and I say, you know what, I don't want to see this course, I don't want to see this course, I don't really need to see this course either, I just want to see the courses I'm currently teaching, then you can do that. If you uncheck them, it removes the items from the calendar just for viewing purposes. They're still there, because if I recheck the calendar, they'll appear. Okay? Yes, this is Blackboard. So this is the calendar inside of Blackboard. So this works with anything that you put as an assignment in your course. And I'll explain how you create assignments in just a minute. Okay. One of the other things you can do for your course, if you are not a fan of the color, you can just click on the arrow in the bottom corner and you can change the color that displays on the calendar. Okay. Now, the colors and the calendars over here are specific to the user. So your student is only going to have calendars for the courses that he or she is enrolled in. And they can change the color as well for those courses if they want to. In addition, the personal calendar is something that you can put assignments on for yourself, and only you see your personal calendar. Students also have a personal calendar. And yes, you can repeat the colors. There are actually not a lot of colors really to choose from, and so some courses may have to have the same color. For example, if you are teaching an introduction to, maybe it's a college seminar course and you teach it every semester, you're going to eventually get that calendar up there multiple times. You could just color code it the same color because it's the same course. Or you might want to color by semester. So everything for fall is green, everything for spring is blue, that sort of thing. So you just kind of have to decide how that will work for you. Yes, you get to choose your color. And that's by user. So whatever color you choose is for you. Your students can choose their colors as well. Okay. So how do I add an actual assignment or an event to this calendar? There are a couple ways that the calendar is populated. When you actually build content in your course, you can assign something a due date. When you assign it a due date, it automatically appears on the calendar. Okay? So by virtue of simply creating the due date on the assignment in your course, it populates the calendar. If you change the due date in your course, it also updates on the calendar. Now that is for assignments, right? Or for discussions that you have due, or for a test that you have due. But maybe there are other things going on in your course that you would want on your calendar. Those types of things you might have to enter manually. So let's say, for example, there will be a guest lecturer, or there is a guest speaker on campus and you want your students to go attend that event and then submit a summary or something like that. So you could put those on manually. And there's a plus up at the top to create a new event, or you can simply click on the date in the calendar. So I'm going to choose today. I just clicked on the 22nd. And I get this create an event window. Okay. I think clicking on the date is easier myself because then I know it's going to populate it with the date already. So create an event. So I'm going to put in that this is workshop 1 for new faculty. That is happening today. Okay. And then the calendar, you get to drop down and choose what calendar this should go on. So I'll put it on my personal calendar, but you could put it on the calendar for your training course if you want to. I'm just putting it on my personal calendar at the moment. You've got a start and an end date. You can also click on this and change the time. For example, we started at 10 a.m. Right? And I can click done. And we will end at noon. So I can slide that along. And you just use the little sliders here to do what you need to do. Okay? And you click done. Now this could be an all-day event, or I can also check this box if it's a repeating event. For example, it occurs every Wednesday for 8 Wednesdays or until a specific date, right? So you can choose it to be a repeating event if you want. So I'll uncheck that box. And then there's a description. Now, of course, you don't always have to have a description, but some things that you're going to put in would require a little bit of an explanation. So you could describe the event here. And then all you do is you click Save, and it will appear on your calendar. So you can try that if you haven't already. You can give that a shot. Click on a day on the calendar, create an event, and save it. Now the next thing that is really helpful is if for some reason that event changes. And now, for example, instead of being on Wednesday, let's say it's actually going to be on Friday. You can click it, hold it, and drag it to change the date. Okay? So you can click on the event, hold it, hold your clicker down, and drag it to where it needs to go. Okay? All right. So give that a shot and give me some feedback in the chat if you're having any problems or what your comments might be on this, this function. All right, so David, you cannot create an event or change the event. Okay, I'll give you a moment to try. So again, for those who are working on that, you just click on a day, and it should open up. And then you can type in the name of your event, assign it to a calendar. You can just keep the day and time, and you simply click Save. And again, the really neat thing is, let's say it's an assignment, and I set a due date. For example, this case study down here. I set a due date, it's due the 30th, but then I decide I want to give my students some more time, a little bit of an extended time on that assignment. So I can click and drag this to change it to a different day. Okay. Now here's something interesting. Sometimes you actually want to change it to another month. As you can see, this assignment was originally for October 30th, but maybe I want to give them until, November 3rd or something. Well, November isn't visible here on my calendar, but if I come over to the left-hand side, I can change this from October to November, right? So I get this set where I want it. Then I can take this assignment and drag it over here to the day that I want it to be. Okay, so now it has left October, and if I come up here and change my calendar to November, you'll see that it is where I sent it. Okay, so I'll show you that one again. Oops. There we go. If I change the calendar on the left-hand side to where I want to send this assignment, I can simply grab it from the calendar and drag it over to that day. Okay. And then I can change this back to October and see where it went. Okay? It's a little tricky, and some of it takes some getting used to, especially the drag and drop. And that is something that sometimes in Internet Explorer, the drag and drop doesn't work as well. So that is something you might want to try with a different browser. Okay? So that is your calendar in a nutshell. David, you might want to try up here, changing from changing your month up here, and you can give that a shot. Okay. So the only other thing on this interface that I want to be able to show you is that when you are going to log off, the log off button is really kind of inconspicuous. It's up here in the top right corner next to your name. That is where the log out appears. So when you're finished and you're in your course, you can log out and then, close your browser. Now today we're going to be in the demo course working, so you don't need to log out until we break for lunch. But one of the things I should mention to you is if you are working on your own computer, your own laptop, or you're in your office, a lot of times folks don't log out. They just close the window and that's fine. But if you're working on a shared computer, you'll want to log out to make sure that it is fully closed out of Blackboard, because sometimes people can open the browser and you're still logged in, so they can get in as you. Okay, so you'll want to take a look at that. Okay. No problem, David. We're good at being patient here. We'll help as best as we can. Sometimes it's just hard without being able to see your computer itself, right? That's one of the limitations of webinars, I think. So where we want to go next is we want to go to courses at the top. And we're going to go inside of a course now. We've played with the interface. We've seen what the landing page looks like. Let's go inside of a course. So click Courses with me. And in your course list, you're going to select the one that says Training and your number. And that's where you're going to go into. Okay? Yes, Jennifer, go ahead. Okay, so that's a good question, Jennifer. She's asking, if I use the calendar, does it appear across all my courses? When you create an event, you select from that drop-down menu which course you want it to appear on, and you're actually selecting that course calendar by doing that. So anything that that you put on, you determine which calendar it goes on. Now, most of your due dates, though, are going to be created actually in your course when you, for example, when you create an assignment. You'll put a due date on that. That's only for that course, and it will automatically go on that course's calendar, so you don't have to worry about that. When you are creating manual entries on the calendar, you'll just want to make sure you selected the correct course from the drop-down menu. Okay? That's all you need to do. All right, so we are on the Courses tab at the top. If you follow along with me, click on Courses. And then from your course list, you want to choose the Training Migration course, training number. And that'll take you inside. And Notifications is usually where you land. There are some other places where you can land, but if your page looks like mine, you are now inside of a course. Yep. Okay, so a course looks a little bit different. It still has boxes on the landing page that you can see here, and these are announcements for the course itself. Okay, these are not global or institution announcements. These are simply announcements that you create inside this course. These are tasks that the students have to complete for this course. There is a to-do module, and the to-do module lets students know what is past due, what is due this week, today, what is due in the future. Okay? If you are the instructor, this module will be empty for you because you don't have anything to do, right? You don't have assignments to submit, so you won't see anything in here, just the students will. There is a What's New module, and that shares with you anything that has happened since you last logged in. Okay, so there's been a new discussion post, or there has been a content item added, whatever it might be. Alerts, if I scroll down here, alerts are things where you set them up. You are going to tell Blackboard what you want to be notified about. Okay, so you would tell them this is part of course management. We'll take a look at that in Workshop 5. But you can tell Blackboard to notify you if if a student has not logged in 5 days, if a student has missed an assignment, if a student has performed below a certain level on something. So you get to tell Blackboard all of these kinds of things. Okay. Hope you should be in the course as faculty. And you don't get to toggle between that and administrator. Okay. So you should be in as faculty. We are going to show you how to toggle between faculty and student, though, so that you can see your course from a student view if you need to. So I'll be showing you that shortly. Okay. Edit mode is coming, David. So yeah, edit mode, you want it to be on if you're the instructor. You can't actually do any editing to your course if it is off, okay? So we want to keep edit mode on while we're working. We can turn it off to see certain things, and I'll share that with you when we build content, okay? Yeah, that is a problem. If you can't find your tools, it's probably because edit mode is off, and that hides the instructor tools, so that can be an issue. Okay, so a couple other things on this page. Edit mode is what David is referring to is up here in the top right. And that is something that you can toggle on and off, but really it's only so, let's say if you're typing a page of notes and you want to see what that page of notes will look like outside of editing mode, you can turn it off to see how it would display. So there are a couple reasons why you would use that. And then next to that is this sort of color wheel where if you don't like the background colors of your course, you can choose something else. Unfortunately, as you hover over them, it doesn't preview it, so you actually have to select it to see what it looks like. But there are other color schemes that you can choose. I just changed mine to flame, and you can see now there are things in red. Okay, so I will go back up here to the default. But that is something that you can do. One of the things that you can do, though, when you change that, you need to know that you're changing that interface for the course. Okay, that's not a student feature. So if you change the color scheme for your course, there is a way to update it for your students as well. So, oh, Sharon, did you find it? I do not have an edit. Okay, great. Okay, I want to make sure you saw where that is. The other thing here, these rotating arrows, this is the student preview. So once you build content and you want to actually see what the student sees, you can click on this. It will turn you into a student in your course, and you will see things from the student perspective. Then you can click it again to turn student mode off and go back to being an instructor. Okay? When you do this, one of the nice opportunities it gives you is that you can submit work as a student. You could try to take a test as a student. You could try out different things as in a student role. And then when you sign back out, you can delete all that work. But you can test out some things. So it's really handy. Okay. All right. So we're going to be working over here on the left-hand side today, okay, for the remainder of our time together. What we have up here is the navigation menu. This is how students get around in your course, okay? And if it's not over there, they will probably have a hard time finding it. So, Linda, good question. So how is the student preview different from edit mode? In edit mode, you're still an instructor, whether you turn it on or off, okay? You can't submit work. You can't test things as a student. It's only for viewing. So the edit mode on-off is just taking a look at, it sort of strips away your tools and shows you, how it would publish and how it would display. The student mode actually allows you to interact inside your course. Okay, you're welcome. So what we have up here on the left-hand side, again, you can look at how mine is configured. I have notifications. I've got a course information area. There's a link to the calendar for the course. There's my actual lessons. So this is where my content will be. There's a link to discussions in my course. There's a link to groups. There's an area for students to check their grades, ask me a question, get tools, and help. And actually, my grades is a duplicate. Check your grades and my grades, same thing. It's just labeled differently. But this top half up here is how students navigate my course. Underneath that, where it says course management, that is how I manage the course. Students don't see anything below course management, okay? So you can see down here I have a control panel, and in my control panel is my content collection, my course tools, evaluation, my grade center, my users and groups, an area where I can customize my course, packages and utilities, that's where I archive my course or I import, export, and then help. So this lower half of the menu is only for the instructor, and it's for managing your course. The top half is for my students, okay? Now, what I need to know how to do is customize this for my course, because every campus will give you an empty course shell. There's no content in there. You've got to build your content, unless you've been given a course from someone else. Some people do inherit courses. But even so, if you're inheriting a course, you would want to set up your menu to make sense with how you structure your course. So for example, one of the things that's over here is course information. Some people like to put the course information as the very first folder in their content area, but other people like to pull it out over here and put it on the menu. So what is course information? If I click on that, that is where I'm going to get my syllabus. It may also be where I lay out some campus policies. I might put in a statement on ADA compliance, or put in a phone number or a contact for disability services for students who may need that. I may also put in a link to the help desk. If I think that that would be valuable for students, I might put in my contact information, how to reach me, what my expectations are for that, right? And that, maybe I don't check email every single day, and that you can expect a response in 48 hours. Because that's what's reasonable, right? You have to think about that as well. Your students, for the most part, are very used to that instant gratification, right? And they're very used to when they send you an email, hearing back from you right away. they sort of have the same expectations as they would with their friends texting, right, that I get an immediate response. So it's very helpful for you to lay out your expectations here in this area of the course or somewhere. You may do it right in your syllabus, and that's also okay. Yeah, so if you have handouts, they could go here, but if they are specific to course content or to chapters in your reading, that sort of thing, those are going to go in the lessons area where that's where you build your content for the course. And that's where you would lay out each week and so forth, okay? So that's a separate area. This course information is simply the information in your syllabus. You could extract some of that and build separate sections for it, or you can just upload your document here. Okay. So we can take a look now at lessons because this is where all of the content resides. Yours might be called course content, learning modules, whatever is your preference for calling that area. So go ahead and click on lessons in your demo course. And you'll see now that the course has opened up. There's the course information area again, which is linked to over here on the left. There's a student coffee house. This is really just an open discussion forum that's not graded. It's where students can get together and chat. There are some sample modules here, and these are simply for you to, take a look at a different structure of how you might organize the course, and we're going to talk a lot more about that in this afternoon session. There's a folder with example content that just shows you how to use different tools that are available. And then there's another forum here for raising your hand. It's a way to give students an opportunity to ask questions about your course that maybe everyone, it's good for the general body to know. So they could submit something here about if they had a question on an assignment or if they have a question on grading or whatever it might be. And you can answer them here and it's public so all students will see the response. This is simply a sample. This is not in any way to say that this is how you have to organize your course. And yes, you see the student chat. You see all the discussions. There's nothing private in here that the instructor cannot see. There are ways to set up what's called a private user journal where you and your students can have private conversations that the rest of the class does not see. But the instructor will see everything in the course. Okay. So Maureen, course information is here as well. It's a different model of the course information. The one on the left is showing a separate area for it. This one, if I click on this course information, and you can do this too, this one actually has everything built out. So it's everything in my syllabus, but it's extracted into separate pages. So I've got a welcome, I've got my readings, I've got my course schedule, so what's due when, right, how you'll be evaluated, that sort of thing. So these are two different ways to share your course information documents. Just trying to give a few more examples, yeah. You absolutely could put that in the course information above, yeah. You could, in fact, this course information here on the left could link right to this area if you wanted it to. You don't actually have to have it separate. It could link right to this document, okay. So we can show you that a little bit. Okay. Let's see, is this the same content as Blackboard? Oh, here's Hope's question. Will these templates be available? Yep. So we do have, when the migration happens, and this is a specific question, a lot of people on the call have already migrated or are not part of that process. But when that happens, we do work with you for building templates if you want to for your faculty, or creating a navigation menu that every course shell gets if you would like it set up. Yeah, there are some campuses that are starting with a blank slate and others that say, no, we really want our faculty to have some structure when they start. So it absolutely is customizable. So we can do that with you. Okay. All right, so this is an example of course information, okay? And so you can see that it can either be just a syllabus document or it can be actually pages built out with the different areas that your students might need to know. Now, I clicked on something and here I am. How do I get myself back, right? Well, you could always click back here on lessons if you want to go back to your list of course content. But one of the things that happens is up here, Blackboard will maintain what we call a breadcrumb trail for you. So it keeps track of where you were. So you can see that I got here, I got to course information from lessons. So if I want to backtrack, I just click one step back in that breadcrumb trail to go back to my lessons. Okay. So yeah, Linda, that's another option. A lot of folks are doing that too, where they have a PDF of their syllabus, and that is simply linked to right here in the menu, and it says syllabus. And when they click it, it downloads or launches the PDF. So you can certainly do that. And David, you actually can use the back button up here in your browser in Blackboard, and it will do the same thing. In previous learning management systems, that was not a good idea. It would actually bump you out of your course and you'd have to log back in. But you can use your back button in your browser to get to where you were. That also works fine. One of the other tools that's important to add here that I haven't told you about is your email or your messages. And I get to be the bearer of bad news because some people really like how these two things function and other people really hate it. So we're going to see what the response is. I'm probably not going to take a poll. I don't want to know. But we'll share this with you. So in your menu, if you could click where it says Tools, I want you to see the different tools that are available to your students. Okay? So in this menu on the left, click Tools. And that's going to open up all the tools in your course here. Now, one of the things to note is, again, just as a reminder, this is Open SUNY's support site, so we have all kinds of tools enabled. Your campus may not decide to turn some of these things on for their courses. For example, the first one is Achievements. That's a badging system where students, once they reach different benchmarks that you set up, they can earn badges. Some campuses just haven't turned that on. It's not something they want to do right now. It's available to them when they're ready. Okay, so you may see some things in here that you won't see when you log into your own campus. Okay, announcements, everyone has announcements. That is something that is standard. Blackboard Collaborate, that depends on if you have a license for that or not. Some campuses use WebEx, some campuses use Adobe Connect. There are all kinds of tools. We are using Collaborate right now. So this tool allows you to schedule a web conference session with your students so that you can use a whiteboard space like I am and demonstrate and so forth. Okay? All right, so that's Collaborate. Blackboard Help takes your students to the Blackboard Help site that I shared with you at the beginning of our session today, the help.blackboard.com for students. Okay, so that's a handy resource. Blogs. I'll speak briefly to this, but session 3 really goes through the interactive tools, and blogs over here, journals, and then wikis at the bottom. Those are 3 tools that you can use to interact with your students, and they can be used as assignments. I'll briefly explain them. So blogs are a way for students to write, to kind of respond and reflect on their work. And you can use a blog in a variety of ways. But blogs are open, which means that all the other students can see the blog posts and they can comment on them too. Blogs are gradable, so you can make them an actual assignment. Okay. Good question, Hope. So if your campus is an SLN campus, you, I believe, get the Blackboard Help Desk regardless. So you should be fine with that. And as part of migration, you're going to have access to the Blackboard Help Desk anyway. Or I'm sorry, Open SUNY Help is what I meant. Now the Blackboard Help is a self-directed tool. So Open SUNY Help Desk will give you a person live that you can speak to. The Blackboard Help is a searchable kind of archive, so you have to be self-directed with that one. There's not a person there that's going to assist you. Okay, and the blogs are not as good as WordPress or Blogger. I like to blog myself. Here's the limitation with blogs. The blog is only accessible for the duration of the course. When the course is over, The students don't have access to your course anymore, which also means they can't access their blogs. So if blogging is a practice you want students to learn how to do and you want them to be able to use their blogs outside of your course, you would want them to do that on a third-party site like WordPress or Blogger or something like that, because then even after your course is over, they can continue to do that. Yeah, the blog is only in the LMS. They can only access it by logging into their course. Okay. The calendar, we have spoken about the calendar, and you've seen that. This is a calendar for the course. Collaboration is a way to hold a virtual classroom chat session. It's sort of like Collaborate that we're doing, but it's a light version. So you get a whiteboard space, and you can type on it, and you can share PowerPoint slides. So it's kind of nice. And then commercial tools, this all depends on what commercial tools you might use. For example, some people use McGraw-Hill or Wiley Publisher or Pearson, and so there might be commercial publisher content that would be integrated, and that's very specific to campuses. Yeah, VoiceThread. VoiceThread, I'm not sure if it has a building block to integrate into Blackboard, but VoiceThread can be linked to, and you can embed that in an activity, certainly. And then course messages and email. So I'm going to talk about them in tandem because they're a little different. If you used Angel before, these do not work the same way, okay, because they don't work together. They are separate entities. Course messages it's a messaging system that's inside Blackboard. You access it by coming into the course, and anything that's sent or received is inside the course. Okay? It does not use your external email at all. And it can also not be forwarded to your external email. It is simply an internal messaging system inside your course. But it does track the messages that are sent and received. Okay? Send email over here on the right, the send email function, you can send an email from inside your course, but it goes to your campus email address. And anything that's replied to, it goes to your campus email. So it never comes back here into Blackboard, and there is no record of it in Blackboard. Okay? That's why it is a little bit different than Angel. Well, with Angel, if you sent email, you still had a record of it in Angel. In Blackboard, you do not. It does not keep a log of your email. It only keeps a record of your messages. Okay? And also in Angel, you were able to forward course messages to your email. You can't do that here in Blackboard. They don't work together. The other things I just want to mention on here before I stop app sharing and we go back to our board are a couple things on the right. Discussion boards are something we're going to really get more into in session 3 if you are with us for that one. Discussion boards are open places and they are live. They are not anonymous. They are where you can put up a prompt based on something that you have done in the class, based on a reading, based on a quote, anything at all, and students would reply to that, and then they can reply to each other. So it's literally creating a discussion. Another thing in here is journals. Journals are a way for students to write to you privately. And it can be a lengthy kind of thing, or it can be something short and sweet, but it's a private communication between the instructor and the students. My Grades is how students check their grades. You, the instructor, have a grade book, a grade center where you go, but students have My Grades. And you'll see on the left-hand menu there are 2 different ways that was set up. My Grades and Check Your Grades are both links to the student grading area. They're just named differently. One is called Check Your Grades, one's called My Grades. It's the same thing. That will take the student to that area. If you click on it as an instructor, it will tell you you don't have any grades. All right, so it won't let you do that. You can't, yes, you can do team journals for team assignments. Yes, teams in Blackboard are called groups. So when you set up a group, you get to tell the group what tools they need. So you can check off that they need journals, or they need Dropboxes, or they need discussion forums, whatever you want to use. Okay, so that is possible. And then the last thing down here is for me to mention is the wiki. And how is that different from blogs and journals? Well, a wiki is sort of like building a repository, a database, where all the students can contribute. And I'm going to show you examples of all of these tools this afternoon. But one of the things about a wiki that's nice is, let's say you're going to do a research project on a particular topic. You could create a wiki on that topic, and students get to contribute any links to outside sources, any videos, any reference material, all kinds of stuff. And then at the end of the semester, you have this giant repository that the students help build. It's really kind of a neat tool. Yes, Kevin. When the student emails you or sends a message, they can do that just to you, the instructor. Yes, so that they can also privately communicate with you that way. The journal is really for a lengthier thing, like maybe you want them to reflect on their learning or talk to you about, their evaluation of their work or the course. They can do that sort of lengthier in the journal. Yeah. Messages communicated on wikis and blogs are public, yes, and they're called comments. So if a student wants to submit a comment on a blog or a wiki or a discussion forum also, those are public and the rest of the class can see them. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause here for a minute, and I'm going to stop my app sharing and go back to the Collaborate slides. Can you just give me a check if you can see the slides now? Great. Okay. Awesome. So we went over the menu on the left-hand navigation. This is simply a recap of that, which is available if you come back to view the recording. And then we are going to talk more about control panel and course management, but that's also where your tools can be found. And then we also went over the My Blackboard space, the global space at the top, and how to get to the calendar. So this afternoon, we're going to focus on actually building content. How do we put in a file? How do we build a page of notes or information? How do we create folders and structure our course? And then we'll also work with the editor. The editor is the box where you do all your typing, and we're going to learn about how to link things, how to put in images, and move content around inside the learning space. Okay, so that's really where we're focused on for that. Okay, just for anyone that is remaining on the Collaborate session, I'm going to stop the recording, and we are going to close this session. I appreciate your attention today. Okay.